Alright, this is John Colo with GrowingYourGreens.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and today we're going to answer your guys' questions. So oftentimes I do these Q&A sessions for you guys to give you my opinions on organic gardening at home. Now I've been gardening for, 10 plus years now, and maybe 12, 13 years now. And I have a lot of experience, but that being said, I don't know it all. But I do know a lot, probably more than the average gardener and maybe even more than the average, person that went to school for this kind of stuff, because this is what I do each and every day. In any case, I get a lot of questions coming in, whether they're underneath the video, whether they're on a discussion page through the email system or wherever, and I apologize, I can't simply answer all the questions that come in. I'm just bombarded and there's just one of me, and I do this for fun. So if you do have a question that needs to get answered, I do have a way you guys could do that. It's through if you support my Fiverr campaign, and I'll put a link down below the video. What the Fiverr does is I'll do a garden coaching session with you for 10 minutes over the phone for just $5. Of that, I get only $4. And then the $4 I get goes right back into the Fiverr community to pay for other people on Fiverr to transcribe my videos from my spoken English into written English. And that way people with hearing impairments and people in foreign countries that don't understand English, especially my broken English that I do sometimes, better. Also, YouTube also has a feature where it actually will translate the English into foreign languages. So people in countries that speak a foreign language can now get translations of the English, which isn't perfect, but at least they'll be able to now better understand the videos instead of, me saying gobbly gibberish that they don't understand in English. In any case, if you do have a question that you would like to possibly get in this video, please post it to my YouTube discussion page on my YouTube channel or through the YouTube email system. That's the best way to give me a question. With that, let's get into today's questions. The first question is from Mark on a bicycle. John, I live in Eastern NC. There's almost no organic gardening or organic produce or juicing or anything out this way. I'm looking to supplement my retirement, but I have no land. I do have on my 3/4 acre property room for a large greenhouse. What would you suggest if this was all you had to make an income? I've started a nice compost since you turned me on to juicing, but just am at a loss. I've considered growing ladybugs to butterflies to carrots or red bell peppers. I look up to your opinion since you seem to be knee-deep in all of it. I've been a salesman all my life and have no fear of getting out and knocking on doors or selling. Any ideas or suggestions? Thanks for your time, Mark. All right, Mark, so what I would say to you, you have 3/4 of an acre, that's like a 1/4 acre. That's actually fairly large. That's much larger than the space I have available. Now, if I had to do something to provide an income, or at least a supplementary income for myself, I would do things that, that are needed in your community. So I don't know what fruits or vegetables may be needed and what people may eat a lot of. It's quite unfortunate that in this day and age, people just don't eat their fruits and vegetables. So growing food for consumption would probably be one of the last things that I would do. What I would do is utilize the power of the internet. So, there's a lot of gardeners online, and, a lot of them subscribe to my channel and watch these videos. And there's even a lot more people that don't, unfortunately, watch my videos. So if you have some friends that are gardeners that don't watch my videos, hey, give them a link to my videos so they can check out some of them. I'd appreciate it. But other than that, you want to tap into the internet marketplace. So how can you do this? Well, you want to sell something online that you could produce on your 1/4 acre. So what would I do if I was in that situation, and on a 1/4 acre? Number one thing I do is probably start a worm farm. Creating worm castings, and castings sell a lot more than, just the compost. You could just sell the castings through flat rate mail shipping boxes. The nice large board size box, you could fit in probably like 30 pounds of worm castings, and you could sell those for, depending on what the market will bear, $1 easily, minimum. And if you market it right and get some good castings, hopefully with rock dust infusions and other cool stuff added in to make a value-added product, maybe even $2 a pound. And it also depends on how good your castings are and how microbiologically active they are. So, get food, soil, web testing done on those castings. Now, besides just the castings that the worms will create, another thing you could do is also sell the worms. So many people want to get into composting, And if you have worms to make the castings, they're also going to reproduce. So as long as you keep your worms happy, you're going to have some additional income. Now, another thing besides worm castings that you might want to look into and consider are making mealworm castings. So, I have an episode where I went to a mealworm farm in Compton, California. But they produce another kind of casting, or insect frass, that's getting quite popular. And there's other kind of insects besides just the mealworms that will also make frass, or the insect poop, which can be used in gardens. So it'd actually be kind of cool to have like a worm casting facility and also a mealworm casting facility, and then combine those in an equal proportion. And I don't know exactly what that proportion is because I haven't looked it up yet. And then sell the combined products. That'd be badass because nobody's doing that yet. And then also infuse it with some rock dusts and then get that out to people at delivered prices in the flat rate boxes so that you can't ship it affordably. This opens up your market because I don't know where in eastern North Carolina you live. You might live in a really low population density area where you're not going to have a lot of customers for compost and all this kind of stuff, and you're on a limited quarter acre. Another thing I would do too is start selling seedlings. So selling seedlings is definitely a really good idea. More and more people are getting into gardening each and every year, and the spring season is almost upon us, so it's the time to start some of the seedlings now. And you could sell seedlings by putting an ad in your local paper, going down to a local swap meet or flea market, posting an ad on Craigslist, putting an ad up at your health food store, networking with Kiwanis or the Lions or whatever other, organizations you're, involved with, and let them know, hey, I'm selling, plant starts this year. And be sure when you're doing your plant starts, grow a lot of different varieties of tomatoes because tomatoes are the #1 grown produce item. Also, you want to, sell the plant starts that are going to do well in the area. So if you gardened last year and you had a couple varieties of plants that did well, grow those and sell those. Don't just buy a whole bunch of different seeds that you don't know how well it's going to do in your climate zone and then sell those. I want you guys to be successful in what you do, but also if you're selling plant starts, I want the people that are buying your plant starts to have the highest level of success so that they'll be like, wow, that dude's plant starts, were the bomb, and I'm going to, buy from them each and every year. And plant starts, you literally multiply seeds that cost, pennies each into like plants that are, depending if they're in 4-inch pots, maybe $1 or $2 each, depending on what your market will bear. So in addition, besides selling the worm castings, the mealworm castings, the mealworms themselves and the worms and the plants, I think that's probably enough to bite off at this time. And of course, have a nice large garden. And also, I would encourage everybody to do classes. So besides selling, the plant starts, you're going to give classes on how to start a garden, right? Maybe in containers, maybe in raised beds. And so then you could derive an income from that. But then also you could sell them the plant starts and also sell them, some of the castings and whatnot to put in their garden. So now it's like a fully connected system. And that's kind of what I do. I teach people how to grow food. I teach them how to use the food by selling them juicers and dehydrators and appliances. I mean, I do this myself first off before all this came about. And I'm just happy to share with people. And, people respect that. And they're going to learn from you. And they're going to benefit from your work. So hopefully that answers your question. Next question is from Amor Finney 498. Hi, John. Congrats on 110,000 subscribers, man. I've got a few questions. Do I need to support my pepper plants? If so, should I use small tomato cages or would a stick be enough? They are sweet peppers, by the way. How should I support my tomatoes? Can I use some kind of metal fencing because I don't think I'll be able to find the Texas tomato cage? The tomatoes are indeterminate. Thanks for your time. I highly encourage you to stake your peppers. Depending on where you live, they may stay fairly small and may not need support, or they may get really large and really need support. Also, it depends on how well the nutrition is in your soil. If you have a wide spectrum of trace minerals, then the plants are going to be more stocky and stout, and the stems are going to be stronger. If you have maybe weak nutrition in your soils, the plants are going to be more brittle and prone to cracking more, especially when there's fruit on it and it starts to get weighed down. So I would minimally recommend, bamboo stake. I like to put like 4-foot stakes on all my peppers because some of them do get that tall. And it might look funny now when you plant the little pepper plant with a big stake, but trust me, you'll need it later, and it'll be a good investment to make. Another thing I like to do if I have the resources available is to use small tomato cages. I think those are by far the best and easiest way to support peppers at this time. On the tomatoes, you can use metal fencing. There's so many different ways to stake tomatoes. I have a few good videos in the past episodes. If you look through my past episodes on, I visited a community garden and showed different ways people were trellising and staking things up. That may give you some ideas. I mean, any materials you could get, and find available locally for free or cheap is definitely a good thing. Another thing you can use is called the concrete reinforcing mesh. That's something that most big box Home Depot, Lowe's, and hardware stores sell. It's like what they put down when they're laying down the concrete. It's just a big wire mesh grid system. Now it will rust, but that's one of the cheapest and easiest and least expensive things you can use to make a cage or to trellis things up. For me personally, I like to cage things versus trellis them whenever possible, or train them up, with string and whatnot. I find by using a cage, it's much more hands-off. So I could put the cage in place, let the plants grow crazy, and I don't really have to go and tend to it every day. If you training it up a trellis or something, you got to be more active with clipping it up and doing all this kind of stuff, and I'm not into that. All right, next question is from PPITT5150. I have heard that a new pressure-treated wood as of 2009, which uses sulfur and not the more dangerous chemicals of the past, is safe to use in raised bed gardens. What are your thoughts on the sulfur pressure-treated wood? Is it safe? I want to bring your attention to a new organic product which is similar to neem oil but is supposedly more effective. That product is Azasol, which also comes from the neem tree but is not an oil-based product. It looks very promising in dealing with trifecta of buds that attack the curbit family, which is a squash, vine, borer, squash bug, and cucumber beetle. All right, so the first question is regarding pressure-treated wood. So I actually haven't looked into the sulfur-based pressure-treated woods as of yet. I have looked into the copper pressure-treated woods, that came out, post 2004 or so, and I do believe those are safer pressure-treated woods than the arsenic, pressure-treated woods of 2003 and earlier. I personally, at this point in time, would not use any pressure-treated woods in my garden, and I leave the decision up to you guys. I always encourage you guys to do, no matter what you're doing in life, do the best you can. So I always encourage you guys to eat more fruits and vegetables, right? And if pressure-treated wood is what you could afford, is what you got the money for, and it's like the sulfur kind that's least toxic, because the whole thing is when man starts getting involved and concentrating minerals in higher than what nature would provide proportions, then I think there is a probability of running into problems. So that's what they do in pressure-treated wood. They may treat it with a lot of copper, a lot of sulfur, a lot of boron, some arsenic, or whatever ingredients they're using. And yes, while some companies, they do testing with universities and determine it's safe, I always kind of wonder, what is the true implications? Can we do scientific tests and find out what's the effects on the plants? Is it in the plants once we're going to eat them? What does it do to the roots and the root zone? More importantly to me, what does it do to the bacteria and the fungi in the soil? I know copper has been used for a long time to inhibit, bacterial growth. And this may, negatively impact your soil microbiology. So in my opinion, while growing your food is definitely better than not growing your food, and I would encourage you, okay, John, the options are not grow food or use pressure-treated because that's all I got in my area. You know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say use a pressure-treated wood, but, get the least toxic stuff. That being said, I would personally use something like redwood or cedar wood and treat it with natural wood treatment. You can check my past episodes. I'll actually put a link down below for the episode where I use the natural mineral-based treatment on my wood. And that's what I do first. Even before I use wood, you might even want to look into using something like concrete or stones, something like that will not rot, and it'll be more permanent, in your garden. So that's my pretty much opinion of that. Always do the best you can. And for me personally, I would not use pressure treated because I'm just still too weary of it. I would use, a natural, pest resistant wood such as cedar or redwood, and then treat it with a natural coating. And that's what I've done for all my gardens. I haven't used any pressure treated wood to date in my own home personal gardens. So the next question is about Azasol. So I did see Azasol at some trade shows, and I was going to film at the Azasol booth at the trade show, and it was getting near the end and they were closing up, and I didn't film, and I don't know, because they were all closing up and it just didn't feel right. So my opinion on the Azasol is kind of much like the pressure treated wood. You know, there are definitely good properties in neem, and they are in the neem tree for a reason. The neem tree has had to fight off blights of insects and disease and all this kind of stuff, so it makes its own natural properties occurring in the tree. That is, you know, in the seed. When you press out the seed oil, it's in the oil also. Now what they've done with the Azasol, they've taken the basically azatractin, or however you say it, one component of, you know, the neem oil that they found very effective and most effective against insects, and they've taken it and concentrated it out into more unnatural proportions. Now, is the Azasol better than any, you know, chemically based pesticide that is more highly toxic? Absolutely. But, you know, for me personally, if neem oil handled my challenge in the garden, I would stop there, and I would not escalate it up to using concentrated, you know, plant-derived products. You know, so that's my opinion on that. I always want to use the most natural and least toxic to myself and least concentrated products as possible in my garden to get the desired effect. Next question is from Tanya Freeman. Is there a good way to keep stray cats from using your raised beds as a litter box? Yes. Number one, use some fencing. So if you use some fencing around while your plants are starting to get established, because basically cats will use your your raised beds as a litter box because it looks like a large litter box to them, and I don't really blame them. I've had that happen to me before. But once you get plants established and they're getting kind of big and tall, they're not going to go in there anymore. So to keep them out while your plants are starting, you know, just get some cheap, inexpensive, I don't even plastic construction fencing and put it around your little bed so that they can't get in there. Another episode I had, actually, I'll post a link down below in the comments, is actually a video with my friend Ronnie and Min, and they use actually a galvanized wire fencing over the top of their bed, so then the cats won't go on that either. So those are two good ways to do it. And once again, get your beds established as quickly as possible so that the cats won't go in there. Next question is from Ann Ray 4. Hey, love your info. You're doing a great job spreading the gardening info. Please keep it coming. You've talked recently about wood chips as a good to enrich compost soil. I have a long-time childhood friend that is a great arborist here in coastal Del Mar, California, near San Diego. We have a special pine called the Torrey pine that loves our climate. It's so rare we cannot cut them down. I think it's the rarest in the world and only grows naturally in 2 places on Earth. We have a lot of them grow over 100 feet tall and need constant trimming for fear of limbs breaking and their damage. Can pine chips be used? I know the needles render the soil to be highly acidic. If not, what trees would you recommend from our area so I can resource from the tree trimmer friend neighbor? I'm sure you'd be happy to not have to haul all those chips to the dump and pay to get rid of them. Source up, Ann in SoCal. All right, Ann, so pine chips are an excellent thing to use in your composting regime. So if it was me, I would have no problems composting the pine chips. Actually, what I use in my composting bins are pine pellets. So people also do composted pine shavings in with manures to compost. So yeah, pine, no problem whatsoever. So I would take the wood chips, pile them up, and do a fungal dominated compost by literally inoculating them with some fungus and some mushrooms and let them break down over 1.5 to 3 years depending on the weather and the conditions, and let that make a nice black rich soil. You could also use that in your standard thermal based compost by mixing the wood chips with food scraps and yard and waste clippings. All right, next question is from Laura D. Aho White. Hey John, do you recycle, reuse your compost? If so, do you have any tips on how to keep your compost healthy for new seedlings? What about plants that have been diseased and have been grown in the compost? Is a compost still okay to reuse? So compost that has been used, or anything that I've grown in before, I'll make a determination. Like if the plant was diseased that grew in it before, I might take that and then actually re-add it to my compost pile to kind of let it reinvigorate and then dilute it down. Another thing I'll do if it's in a pot, I might use the stuff in the pot and then put it in a raised bed and then mix it up in the raised bed so it's much more dilute. In general, I don't use, diseased plant compost for new seedlings. I'll use, more virgin compost for new seedlings. So I have a rotation where I rotate new compost to seedlings, and then as the seedlings get older, I'll rotate that compost in, and it just kind of depends. So I always encourage you guys to use new compost or compost that was just made for all your new seedlings, and of course I dilute that down into a special mixture. And I don't use straight compost to grow in. I always add a mixture of different items such as the compost, some perlite, also some coconut coir as my general mixture. Let's see, next question is Nathan Salazar. Hey John, where can I buy Azomite on the internet for cheap? So my current recommended source, I'll put a link down below to the video, is a place called Roots Naturally. They'll give you 10% off as a Growing Your Greens viewer for your first order. It runs about a little bit over $1 a pound for delivered Azomite, which is fairly good because it includes a shipping. I hope to have future episodes where I share more places that you could get rock dust for cheap shipped to you online. So subscribe to my videos if you're not already. Last question for the day is Hal337. Thank you for promoting growing your food, eating fresh raw produce, and making ourselves healthier. My question is regarding ash. I have a wood stove and burn fallen wood I collect and wood branches that are thrown out by my neighbors. When finished burning, I'm left with 100% burn wood ash. Have you ever used ash in your garden, and what are your views on using burned plant matter, of course, in addition to bioactive compost to supplement your soil? So the wood ash that you're generating, when wood burns, things are burned off and then things are concentrated. So literally it's a concentrated, basically alkaline mineral. So if you have an acidic soil, you could add the wood ash to bring your soil back into balance. And if you have an already alkaline soil, adding more alkaline ash to it, it's probably not a good thing because plants need a certain pH range to operate effectively. For me personally, I would dilute the wood ash into my whole garden and spread it very thinly, on my garden. I would also add a little bit to my compost each and every time. But more importantly to me, instead of just using the wood ash, I would use the wood, the fallen wood, to make biochar. Use the heat from your biochar to heat your house and all this kind of stuff. But the biochar is much more valuable of a product to add in your garden that can be added in higher quantities than the wood ash itself. So that's pretty much my take on that. I haven't actually used any wood ash, myself. And we're talking wood ash here, not just ash from like burning cardboard and other stuff. I only recommend using 100% real wood ash in small quantities into your compost and into your garden as needed. You do not want to overload it by any means. So I guess that's pretty much the end of this Q&A. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, learned a few things at the same time. Once again, my name is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time, and remember, keep on growing.